This is Roger Gosnell. We're going to talk to you about some of the scenes that we shot but ended up not in the final picture. This is actually an animated opening that we had designed for the picture. Our intent was to sort of introduce the audience to the characters in their animated fashion before bringing the audience into live action, sort of reminding people of the cartoon and how the characters appeared in the cartoon. Bob Kurtz from Kurtz and Friends was the creative force behind this. He's obviously an incredibly talented guy and really did a great job on this. So we're very, very proud of the work that he did in this. Ultimately, after screening it for audiences, we all decided internally that the audience really didn't necessarily need an introduction to these characters. The bulk of the audience knew them from the cartoon. And in a sense, it made the opening of the movie seem longer. The movie really sort of started for the audience. The story really starts when they get to Spooky Island. So we found that when we had this opening plus the opening in the factory, it just took us a long time to get to Spooky Island. And while it achieved what we hoped it would in terms of introducing the characters, its long-term effect was to sort of delay the start of the story. So we opted to edit it out and go with the short opening. Right now I am reaching out to Scooby and the gang. Sure feels good to find a friend that you can lean on. Friend who would believe you if you say you saw a train man. And even though sometimes this is the song that Shaggy did for us. Shaggy, the singer, doing Scooby Doo, the reggae version. We see Velma making the plan, and we come up into an animated factory, which goes to a live action factory. The opening of the scene,
And in Chapter 7, I detail how the Black Knight ghost was no supernatural phenomenon.
Fan-Con-a-thon is sort of a takeoff on those fan conventions that happen around the country. And, we use that name and this sequence is sort of a takeoff on those. We thought that's kind of where Fred would be.
In the back of the head. Now.
Actually, the Black Knight Ghost was, I think, the first villain that the Mystery Inc. ever overcame. I think the original show had the Black Knight Ghost, so that's sort of a homage there.
Oh, look to her.
There's Velma in group therapy. We scouted some various locations. This was actually shot at Bond University in Australia, and we looked at some sort of normal office-type scenes, but the extremity of the movie and the fact that it was a flashback seemed to call for a more extreme environment. So we got all these ink-blocked paintings. Bill Bowes, the production designer, came up with the idea for the ink-blot backgrounds and blew those up really big and put them in a sort of a giant white room, which was actually, again, was one of pacing, and that is because, again, the story really starts on Spooky Island, so this sort of, while it was great character stuff, seemed like a big detour in the story, and the movie actually was better for not going to the flashbacks. But as a director, as isolated scenes, they're some of my favorites.
You are no longer helpless. Your body is a dangerous
This
weapon.
is obviously establishing Daphne as being good at her martial arts.
My opponent is my insecurity.
We shot this in a field near the Currumbin Wildlife Center in Australia. And once again, Bill Bowes had a great idea to hang the red flags and sort of give it an Asian feel.
It's winding and most difficult.
Yeah, I know.
It was really hard on Sarah being up in that harness attached to that tree. It was a long day for her, but she did a great job.
So just, watch it.
Nightmare Boulevard was part of a musical montage sequence that we had introducing the characters and the audience to Spooky Island. Everyone sort of goes off in separate directions, and they're all intent on solving the mystery themselves.
This place gives me the creeps. The creeps in a good kind of way.
This was shot on Tangalooma Island, where we shot a lot of the Spooky Island exteriors. That establishes the voodoo guy. Daphne sees the clue. This is once again some really great production design. I really love this, the look of this section. David Egby did a great job shooting it, and Bill Bowes did a great job designing it. Of course, Fred doesn't see the clue.
Not real, Scoob.
Is that dude and his dog that used to solve mysteries?
They were part of a larger group. Mystery Inc.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Velma.
This is where Velma meets the guy that she meets later at the bar.
The smart one.
And he stands next to her during the Ring of Fire scene.
And you've always been a chick?
One of our edgier jokes.
Sure.
This is a very early development Scooby, but the concept was that he saw one of the creatures earlier than he did in the forest. This was another one of my favorite scenes that unfortunately we had to cut. Linda just did an amazing job with this scene. She worked really hard. She chose the song, worked really hard on the choreography with John O'Connell, who was the choreographer on Moulin Rouge, and came up with, I think, a really touching and incredibly funny ode to Daphne and Fred.
At long last, love has arrived, and I thank God I'm alive. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. Da 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 da. I love you, baby, and if it's quite alright, I need you, baby, to warm the lonely night.
She does know that bloody skulls are non-alcoholic, doesn't she?
Trust in me when I say.
This was a scene that we cut. Again, it was story related. It was a moment in the movie where Velma was acting a bit drunk, even though the drinks were non-alcoholic. And, unfortunately, it sort of stopped the story. And what happens next is the creature appears in the window and scares Scooby Doo. So at the end of
You know what I'm saying, G?
No.
the concept is this was a locker room sort of just off the pool where the guests of the resort could come and change in their bathing suits, etc. This is one of Linda's best performances. I'm really proud of what she did here.
Hold up.
This sequence was cut. Unfortunately, in our test screenings, a lot of people perceived the girls to be dancing around in their underwear as opposed to dancing around in their bathing suits, and it offended some of the parents in the audience. So it was one of those things that was decided that it was better to opt out of the scene instead of risk offending people on that level.
Kind of like...
This is a scene where you see Daphne lose, as she calls it, her spirit thingy, and we actually get to see one of the creatures inhabit her body. It's visually one of my favorite sequences in the movie. I think that it really shows off the cavern sequence. I think it's really dramatic. In fact, the reason we took it out of the movie was that it was a little too intense for the younger viewers, and kind of scary, honestly. I think Matthew did an amazing job here. It's a very emotional sequence. He gets to witness this.
And you're messing up my hair.
I think Sarah did a terrific job here, sort of being creepy but keeping it light at the same time.
Capital J-E.
A company called Giant Killer Robots did the animation on the spirit thingy. Warner Feature did the animation here and did a terrific job. It was very tricky to try and accomplish this without it seeming like a violation, and I think that they did a nice job doing that.
Accord. Blank North.
It's just a very little bit of the creature language, which we never really fully developed, but we always thought that line was kind of funny.
Scoob.
There's poor Shaggy. The chicken of the group being left alone to his own devices. It's a nice character transformation here that he fights his initial instincts. This is a scene where you get to see Scooby in captivity, and he sort of uses Scooby logic to try and trick his way out of there. Of course, it doesn't work because it's Scooby logic. But it was just one of those great scenes, but unfortunately the wrong time of the movie. This intercut with the gang on the beach, deciding to band together and save the day. So it unfortunately stopped the story for what we felt like was not the right time.